Wednesday morning, starting out from Holbrook, Arizona. I dodged in here yesterday after that horrible hailstorm. I mean, it was, within 2 minutes, the highway where we're all doing 75 is covered with white hail. And y'all know that's ice. Truck comes by, splashes slush all over my windshield. And then the next thing I know, we were all pulling off to the side of the road till it passed. So after that, I just kind of popped in here, and luck was with me. The Econo Lodge here was really, really nice, really good breakfast. We're pretty centrally located to see a bunch of cool stuff. Petrified forests, on our way to Winslow, Arizona, meteor craters right after that. So there's still lots of possibilities to see stuff this morning. I got up real early because I went to bed real early because I was wiped. Had breakfast packed up, and the only thing that's slowing me up right now is I'm waiting for stuff to open at 8 o'clock. So that that time zone change is just got me off just a little bit this morning. But it's promising to be a really good day here on 66. And Arizona looks to be a lot more promising than New Mexico. We will see. Coming out the road from my hotel, here is the view I am greeted with of Arizona. It is surreal like this. Little mesas out there in the distance that you can see. Arrived at the Petrified Forest National Park in Arizona. Very highly recommended to stop in the visitor center as soon as you get into the Petrified Forest Park. This is a very, very large area. Some of it's drivable. You probably should talk to them before you take your car on it. Painted Desert changes qualities depending where you are on the road. I just found out if you have a national park pass, it's the way to go. Unfortunately, I didn't do that, so I'm going to be paying. But it's definitely worth it. I want to see this. These are the first shots of the Painted Desert from the first overlook in the park to Pony Point. And they told me these will be mostly reds up here, but the further I drive in, the characteristics will change, and that's going to be pretty exciting. The roads going through the Petrified Forest Park are not great, and it was explained to me this is because of the type of geologic area it is. It swells with the rain and then dries out, and it's not ideal for a road, but they're not going to rip it up and change it because it's national park and part of the way things naturally are. So just adjust your driving to the conditions. The next little photographic scenic spot in the Painted Desert, still it's just a half mile or so from the first, but it gives a very different set of images from the first. Being a ranger here would be like a dream job if I was in my 20s again. Continuing through the Painted Desert, this is some shots taken from the vantage point of the little inn that's out here, little breakfast lunch place, I think. Look far into the distance, you can see the mountains. The view from the other side of the building is different. Still red rock, but the landscape has changed quite a bit. Down the road a little more from a different perspective. So that is where we came from. And you can see the palette of the painted desert is again changing. And looking across the desert. Just cannot believe this. Really huge shout out to the National Park Service. Thank you for making this possible. While you're out here looking at everything in front of your eyes, don't make the mistake of not turning around and seeing what's behind you now. This is the same location, just looking backwards. The Petrified Forest is the only national park in the country where a portion of 66 crosses through the park. And they have decided to mark that. Now this part of 66 is decommissioned and it is not drivable. Little ways down from where 66 crosses through the park, come over a hill, and this is what we are greeted with. You just have no idea what you're going to see when you go around a curve. The landscape changes so dramatically as you go through the painted desert, through the park. I mean, literally, you come around a turn and all of a sudden, you know, there's these dark rocks that are all conical. Just so totally different looking from what you were looking at, you know, from what you were seeing, you know, a minute ago. Literally, no exaggeration. This is one of the formations we were just looking at a few minutes ago. Come down the road, not even a half mile. Get to the other side of that thing and look at those. And we continue to pan around. If that wasn't enough to get you to get your jaw on the floor, then down there it changes again to this grayish white, grayish then white, excuse me, type formations. I hope the oh wow and the total awe comes through in these shots. The road has looped around, so if we're looking out at the east side from the first few places to stop, now we're looking out the west side, and you can just see how much things change. Just want to say for the record, so far I think this is just as enchanting as New Mexico, in a different way, but just as enchanting. The nice thing about being in this national park is that roads are not that heavily traveled. So I see this and I can just pull over and put on my flashers and get some footage of it. These scenes are from up from the scenic points marked Jasper Forest. And it's amazing just how everything changes so much in such short spaces. beautiful formation like that. Huge rock formation just poking up from the desert floor like that. It's like, how, you know? It's, I mean, you can watch all the geology programs you want to watch or look at the pictures on Google, but until you see this stuff in real life, it's a whole different experience. This is the point called Crystal Forest Trail. There's a trail through here about 0.8 of a mile long, and it just appears to be loaded with petrified wood. And for people who are still in amazement that this process actually happens, here it is. Then you see stuff like this where the tree had something pouring out through the inside. You think, yeah, you can't make that stuff up. It's just absolutely. And this is just my East Coast uneducated opinion, but you see all these pieces of petrified wood around here. Now you know why they call it the petrified forest. Yeah, I've said on more than one occasion, recounting Navy days, that there's nothing quite like being in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, or any ocean, and looking all around the ship as far as the horizon and not seeing anything, just to make you realize how small and insignificant you are. I will add the desert to that too. Mountains are cool, but the desert where you can see to the horizon and it's just empty. It's like, oh yeah, I'm really not all that, am I? Please read and heed if you come out here to see all this. This view gives me hope. There's a myriad of little chunks of petrified wood out there, and they're still there because the National Park Service says, don't go taking petrified wood now. If everybody does that, there won't be any left. And people have left this here. That gives me hope. I was coming down the road out of the park and came around a hill and was greeted with this panoramic view of the painted desert. So of course it necessitates a stop, and this is the shot that I would love to finish up this section of the video with.